Hello everyone. We are continuing talking about report writing, and now I'm going to talk about methods and materials. Well, I'm sure teachers have already discussed with you that a typical research process starts with a hypothesis, right? It's some question that researchers have in mind and they want to prove it right or wrong. It's kind of a statement, right? Then they conduct an experiment and they collect the data, they analyze it, and then they come up with some results, right? So in our case, the data is given, right? You have a data set ready. It's in the form of a table with some numbers, right? So the experiment has been already conducted and the hypothesis already exists somewhere. What you need to do is just think about it as some sort of a puzzle. So you need to collect the puzzle. You have the data set, right? But you don't know what happened in the experiment, and you don't know what a hypothesis might be. Well, you have already come up with a hypothesis because you have already written an introduction, right? So you have a hypothesis, that's good. And now it's the time for the experiment part. We are not going to conduct an experiment, but we will imagine that we have conducted an experiment and we have collected this data. All right. So every experiment consists of some steps to be taken and the equipment, right? So the steps are called methods and equipment is called materials. That's why we have methods and materials section where we describe the experiment in steps and we mention what equipment was used. Well, if you look at the data set for the sample report, you can see that it consists of 3 columns, right? And what you need to do, you need to think what steps researchers took to find out this information. So the first column is about the items. The items were collected, obviously. Yeah. Now you need to think what was used to collect the items. And also items were classified because there were probably a lot of plastic foam, a lot of polystyrene foam, and different wires. And you see that that there were more than one items. So imagine this huge pile of items. And in order to know how many of them are there and how much they weigh, they need to be collected and classified, like put into different baskets or different bags, right? Yeah, obviously, then items were counted, and then the question is what was used to weigh the items, and yeah, they were weighed as well. And how did the researchers make sure that the weight was correct? So all these things should be described in the methods and materials section. All right, so you can take a look at the sample report. This is the methods and materials section of the sample report. Well, not completely, it didn't fit in, but this is the part of it. So what you need to do is read it and underline the steps taken and circle the equipment used. So you underline the steps and you circle the equipment. You can pause the video, take your time and do that. All right, let's see what we have. So I have already underlined the steps, and I have circled the equipment, right? You can take a look and compare to what you have. And you can notice that the verbs that show the steps, what tense are they? Is it present or past? Is it active or passive? Well, obviously, it's past passive. Why is it past passive? Why is it I don't know, not present passive or present active or what? Well, it is in the past because the the experiment was conducted in the past, and now we are describing it. Okay. And why is it passive? Well, oftentimes in science we either don't know like who did the experiment, or it doesn't matter to us, right? What matters is like what happened, the verbs, the steps, right? That's why we use passive. Except for the first sentence, take a look. We have this research took place, yeah, because this research is the subject here. That's why took place is the only active verb actually here, right? Yeah, also when you take a look at this paragraph, you can find some linking words. Can you find the linking words? They're not a lot. I would say you need to use some more of them, but you can see here, okay, next, yeah, and finally. So depending how many steps you have, if they are like, if there are many steps, you need to organize it and link ideas with linking words in a better way so that the reader can read it easily. So you say first, to begin with, next, after that, then, and finally. All right. Well, take a look at this familiar chart, line graph. Yeah. Of course, you know it. What you need to do now, you need to break it down into steps and equipment used. Basically, think of a method and materials section for this experiment. Yeah? So what you need to do, you need to think, use your imagination a little bit, and think what equipment the researchers used here, and what steps they took to conduct this experiment. Let's start with the equipment. What do you think the researchers used? Well, all right, I'll tell you. Of course, they needed basil seeds, right? To plant it, right? They needed 2 pots. Why 2 pots? Because one pot was put under the sun or under the UV lamp, and the other one was put in a dark place. See? So with light, without light. Soil to plant seeds, right? UV light or the sun. Well, basically, UV light is better than the sun because it can be used 24/7, right? Whereas the sun is only available during the day. Then the ruler or a measuring tape to measure the height. See here the height. And Excel sheet to write down, to note down the steps, the data. Let's move to the steps. Hopefully you have done that already. So, boom, 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 boom. Here are the steps used. That's how we break it down, break experiment down into steps. And here are the things that were used. What you need to do is to link these steps. Link these steps using linking words, connect these sentences, and make them in past passive. All right, so what you need to do now is you need to write the method and materials part for the report on fertilizers, your guided report. And here's the checklist. Make sure that the steps are logically organized and they're quite detailed. It is important that you describe the experiment in details. Why is it important? Because if somebody wants to repeat your experiment, if you don't mention something, their results will be different from yours, right? Also, the tools that were used should be detailed, mentioned in details for the same reason. Yeah, and remember to use past passive as well.